Good evening. I'm Lori Rabasha, the Executive Director of La Grua Center, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to our Artist Chat this evening to mark the opening of our new exhibition entitled Fantastic Souls, Surreal World. For those of you who may be new to us, La Grua Center's mission is to engage community via arts and culture, and we do so by presenting a variety of concerts, art exhibitions, and speakers on a wide range of topics. We are now presenting those events as best we can on digital platforms like tonight's chat on Zoom. We usually start with a little housekeeping as the audience trickles in. Our program director, Kelly Rocherol, and I are coming to you from our home offices near where La Grua Center is located in Stonington, Connecticut. We welcome any questions you may have for the artists and ask you to write them in the Q&A feature, and we will get to them after the conversation. Our discussion will be recorded and available on La Grua Center's YouTube channel in the next week or so. And in the next day or so, you will get a brief survey that we would love for you to fill out, especially if you're new to us. We have posted on our website, in your ticket email, and soon in the chat section here on Zoom, a link to our virtual gallery, which is on the Google platform, where we show a number of works by our 4 artists. But for those of you in our region, you can come and see many of them in our gallery on Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday afternoons, or by calling us to arrange another time. This is also the time when I take a moment to thank the many people who donate to La Grua Center's annual fund each year. I know some of you are with us tonight. Those gifts are a huge part of making our year-round programming possible, and they matter more than ever during this pandemic year when we can't gather together in person. So now on to our talk. We are delighted to welcome back Expressiones Cultural Center from New London, Connecticut, and 4 of the artists they have gathered together for this exhibit. What's going to make tonight's chat a little more fun than usual is that 2 of our artists, Juan and Juan Carlos, are zooming in from their home countries of Argentina and Honduras. Michelle is coming to us from New York City, and Guido from our neighboring town of Groton, Connecticut. We will be doing some screen sharing so that you can see the works that they will be talking about. At least we hope so. This is our first international Zoom talk with more technology than usual being employed by more people than usual. So we ask for your patience if there are some glitches and hope, like many of our in-person art openings, you might have a glass of wine nearby. Our host for tonight's chat is Jose Garaycochea, who is one of the founders of Expressiones Cultural Center and its executive director. So I'm going to ask him to unmute himself and come onto camera. There he is. Welcome,
Okay.
Jose. I know that you came to London, I believe, from your home country of Chile, and I'd like for you to start the conversation by telling us a little bit about Expressiones, how you started it, how it came about, and what is the work that you started doing, what you're continuing to doing.
Thank you, Lori. Yes, I'm originally from Chile. I came to this country in 2004. At that time, we realized was really needed in that area and a better knowledge about the Latino culture. Then that is the way that we started working with the community and with Expresiones. Expresiones itself was founded in 2001. At the beginning was just a for-profit organization. Okay, then from 2001 until 2009 was for profit. After that, we applied for be a non-profit organization, and we were granted on September 10, 2009. We are located in downtown of New London. We have an art gallery, we have a working space for the artists, but also we have a fully furnished apartment for the artists. Keep in mind the artist is coming from different countries. Yes. Then we need to provide them all what they need in the meantime they are living here. Also, we have a space for children and family and for all the program that we are having. Right now, we are located on Bank Street, in 84 Bank Street. Since its establishment, Expressiones has offered a wide variety of bilingual programs. Almost not almost, basically all of them are free to the community. Children art classes, exhibition, lecture, a workshop, language classes, a poetry, reading, a film festival, and plus the artist in resident program. What is the intention with everything that we are doing in New London through Expresiones is to bring a better understanding and a better appreciation between the Latino culture and the non-Latino culture. Its community outreach work has reflected and carried out its mission of serving the less privileged population of the Southeastern Connecticut, including Spanish-speaking children and low-income families. What we believe at Expresiones is through the art, the quality of life can be made better. We envision art as something beyond experiencing or creating something beautiful, like a painting, watercolor, or music, but rather as something that can be used as a tool to more effectively deliver a better education, a better health care, and a better social services. The integration of the art led to better outcomes such as improve early learning, higher educational achievement, increase teacher and parent engagement, and enliven elderly and a better citizen. We believe that the art are a gigantic tool that help people to grow as an individual, as a society member. Everybody here coming from different country, we are part of a society. Our role, our duty as a citizen is improve the area that we are living in. Expresiones was created to involve children as well as adults in various aspects of the art and culture. It is part of our mission to build, I will call, multicultural bridges through artistic and educational effort. Then I have a very brief presentation where I can show you a little bit what we are doing, then you can have an idea visually.
That's great. I'm going to go off screen now. And when you're finished with that piece of it, go ahead and bring the artist on. Your words are so much taken to heart by all of us who believe in arts and culture. This is wonderful. Tell us more.
Okay, thank you. Then, okay, then if you see here, we has been working in different school. Here is one of them is the Harbor School, where we are bringing to the skill different opportunity to interact with different artists. And we are having different projects, something very simple, not expensive activities. Then, here we have another artist that we are creating books, but not a typical book. We are creating, we are connecting math, geometry, color. We are working with a motor skill, how they can really handle that. But also when the student is working with the artist creating different projects that they have the obligation to present the project, to explain the project to the classmate, to the community, to the teacher. And we are working with kids from kindergarten until seniors in high school. We have a variety of classes. Then here, for example, is the same book that I showed you before, but here the kids were creating their own book with images that are relevant for them. Then if you see some of them have more skill than the other, but the important part, they are able to express themselves. Here we have other kids and we are using a lot of recycling material, explaining to them what we have around. We are living in a beautiful, beautiful area, but we need to be conscious what we really have. Also, in another time, we have another artist who was working with a slow motion video. Okay, and we were lucky because all the time we are trying to looking for new partners, and at that time we were exhibiting at the New London Groton Airport, and then we exposed all those machines where the kids were developing different slow motion movies. Then always we have interaction with different kid, different expression, different project. And lately we are working for the kid to create their own city, to build in cities. Then we are using different technique, different medium, and everybody's designing their own dream city. Then if you see, that is in some way the way that we are working. Then talking about this exhibition, the title of this exhibition is basically Fantastic Soul. Then if you are wondering why we put that title, well, I need to tell you the word fantastic by itself is coming from the Latin. That means fantasticus, okay? What is the literal meaning of that? Means imaginary, okay? Something is still used in that way. For example, if you call the unicorn, you say, oh, it's a fantastic beast. You are not paying a compliment. You are saying exists, but only in fairy tale. Now, for this exhibition, for this show, fantastic means strikingly out of the ordinary. We have an exhibition of 4 artists who are fantastic because they are out of the ordinary. In what context? They are coming from different countries. They are leaving their own country. They are leaving their job. They are the regular job. They are leaving their family and they are coming to United States. And they are not coming to big cities like New York, Boston. They are coming to New London. They are coming to London, Groton area. And they are coming for several weeks to share their culture, to share their expertise. Then they are fantastic soul. That is the reason why we call that exhibition with that name, okay? Anyway, that is what is Expresiones, what we are doing, what is our role in this community. Then now I would like to introduce the artists. I invite all of them to turn the cameras, then everybody can see them. And we are starting to introduce Michelle Melo. Michelle is originally from Colombia. She's living right now in Manhattan and in New York. Then I welcome to Michelle to share with us a little bit about you, about your work, about whatever you want to share with us, okay?
Thank you, Jose. Good evening, everyone. It's not dark yet, but it's been soon. Yes, my name is Michelle Melo. I am a visual artist. I was born and raised in Colombia. I moved to New York 15 years ago. Like 4 or 5 years ago, I was part of the residency in New London at Expresiones. It was a great experience for me. I spent 8 weeks with working with the children in the schools of New London and sharing my knowledge, but most of all, learning a lot from the children. It's like it's exchange. It's an exchange of knowledge and experiences that enrich my life very, very much. Thanks to that experience and some other experiences as an immigrant, I've been very interested in identity. When I realized when you move to another country, you start looking for yourself. What are your roots? Where are you coming from the soul, as Jose was mentioning before. So before coming to New York, I was working in general with a sculptor and contemporary art and installations. And as soon as I had this, like I came to this different land, different country, different state of mind, I started looking for my identity and I found textiles. I am really, really close to textiles. Before coming here, I did so many trips to Peru, especially. They have this richness with textiles. And then I found out the quilts, how women work with the quilts, and they give warm, but they have also these very beautiful designs, figures. So I started looking for something that I could relate to. So I found the molas. Molas are a kind of textile from Panama. The indigenous women from Panama make molas. The molas are basically on textiles. The quilts in general are made by placing fabric on top of each other and then cutting out some pieces to uncover the fabric underneath. That was the beginning of my exploration, working in the same way with molas. And then later, I introduced hand stitches and machine stitches as some of the works that are in the show right now. And by the end of 2019, a new element came into my set of tools, that is silk screen. Thanks to the Queen's Museum, I had a very great opportunity to get closer to the silk screen workshop, and I started incorporating silk screens to the textiles work. Some of the work, I think all of the works actually, that are in this exhibition are a combination of quilting, embroidery, hand stitches, machine stitches, and silk screen. I'm trying to combine all of these techniques together to enrich my work and to talk about feminine labor. I consider and I identify myself as a woman. And I want to talk about this labor that is very, very important in my country, in most of Latin America, and in general in the world. Most of the places, this work is made by women. I found out recently that in India, the embroidery and the quilting work is made by men. So this is great, how we share our labors. That's me, and thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'm ready to answer them. Thank you, Jose.
Thank you, Michelle. Now I would like to introduce Juan Carlos Fernandez. Juan Carlos is from Tegucigalpa, Honduras. He has been with us more than once, and I welcome Juan Carlos. Juan Carlos, you are mute.
Oh, hold on. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry, y'all. Give me just 1 second. Can you see my screen, though?
Nope. Nope.
Hold on, I'm sorry. Here we go. How do I do this?
Juan Carlos, if you need a minute, I can go with Juan in the meantime.
I was just going to say, these are the glitches. We expect them, and we will work through it, Juan Carlos. So do the best you can, and go ahead, Jose. I'll turn it back to you.
Okay. Then Juan Carlos, take a minute, and then I'm going in the meantime with Juan. Okay, Juan? Well, Juan Balaguer is from Rosario, Argentina, and we welcome him, okay? Okay, Juan, all yours.
Okay, thank you, Jose. I will start my talk as you know. I always start with the same words. I apologize for my English. I am not so good talking in other language, so I will thank your mercy. Okay. I'm Juan Balaguer. I'm from Rosario, Argentina. Juan Carlos, are you talking? No. Okay, I will go on. Okay. I'm, as I said, my name is Juan Balaguer. I'm from Rosario, Argentina. Rosario is it's not the capital city of my country. It's the second or the third big city of the country. I'm a painter. I'm a visual artist, but most precisely, I define myself as a painter. I love to paint. I love to work with images. And I am also a professor at the university of my city. So I will start talking about my work in this exhibition, quoting a great artist of my country. His name is Luis Felipe Noé. In an interview, he compares his beginning in the art with a passenger who boards a train, thinking that he knows the destination of the train, but don't knowing the different stops of these trips. Well, the works in this exhibition, my works show it in this exhibition, represents 2 or 3 different stops of my artistic trip. So to give context to my words, I will try to share screen. Okay. Can you see the screen? The works in the screen?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. These paintings are the first station of my trip. I made these paintings on between 2007 and 2010, more or less. They are part of a series called Still Life, and it's called Still Life. They are called Still Life because I love to work with the traditional concepts of the painting, bringing them to the contemporary painting. So, as you can see, I would like, at this time, I'm painting very close to the realistic painting. But in the second stage, in the second station, in the second stop of this trip, these works are from the Familiar Images series. I named them Familiar Images because what you are seeing, what you can see is my family. These are paintings representing my close family. What you can see about the language of painting is a different use of the paint technique here. In these paintings, I try to show the power of the painting, not hiding the painting, but showing them, showing the materials, showing the textures, showing the colors, not in close relation to the fiction of the reality. So these are the two series that are part of this exhibition. Right now, I want to show what I'm actually working on. This is my recent works, my recent paintings. In these paintings, I'm trying to mix the 2 languages of the painting. In one hand, the realistic painting, and in the other, the material, the expressionist painting. So I'm working right now, as I said, mixing the two ways, 2 different ways to paint. So I don't have much to say, Jose. So I can give the word to Juan Carlos, if you can share your...
No, absolutely no. Thank you, Juan. Really interesting to see how your work has been progressing. Okay. Now, Juan Carlos Fernandez already fixed the situation, and he now is ready to present. Welcome, Juan Carlos.
Thank you, Jose. Okay, can you see me now?
Yes,
Yes.
we see your screen, yeah.
Okay. Well, I was gonna basically give you a short run through to where the pieces that you guys are gonna be looking at came from. I started working with collage approximately about 9 to 10 years ago. And in the beginning, there was always something that stood out. My first exhibitions were named Ruleta Luna or Moon Roulette, or they had astronomical connotations to them. I was basically experimenting. I have a BFA and MFA in sculpture, but at the time I didn't have a very open space or studio space to work. And I figured that I could work collage in a minimal space, which I had at the time. And I started producing these small, different experimentations with collage and mixed media. And all of these started around 2012, 2014. And then 2015 came about, and I was trying to, for some reason, they turned into much more minimal, much more cleaner. And I wanted to focus on attention to detail and craftsmanship, aside from like the messy ones that you saw before. And then I was lucky enough to be invited to Expresiones through a cultural arts center here in Honduras. And I was a part of a group show back then. That's when I met Jose and Guido. And at the time, I was experimenting with doing collage on canvas. Everything I'd done before was pretty much on paper. And at the time, I was trying to mix the two and have this correlation and symbiotic relationship with the images and perspective and so on and so forth. And I came back, kept working in 2017, still experimenting and still looking, just trying different formats. And then I applied to the residency at Expresiones, which was an incredible opportunity. And it was a turning point for me because I kind of figured out where all these things were coming from. These are a few of the images from the residency, the show, the final show at the residency there. And I remember when I was up there writing my my texts for the exhibition, and talking to people and calling me Juan and having these images with the moon and astronomical imagery. And it all came through looking out the studio at the ocean and at the stars and how constellations intertwine and everything connects. And it got me to thinking about the our differences and the cultural gaps that Jose was mentioning. And I also get the chance to see some of Guido's work and its size and format. It blew me away and blew me out of the water, and I was deeply inspired about trying to get there and making them bigger and making them bolder, sort of say. And I've been on that path, figuring out different materials. And I was lucky enough to get a show for 2020. Nevertheless, COVID came around, and it was on this, it was meant to be in this big space. So I was working on bigger formats. And needless to say, it hasn't been done. It hasn't gone up. But these are some of the images that I've been working on the last year, based on what I produced while I was at Expresiones. A bunch of universe, a bunch of energy, a bunch of connections. That in particular make me think of, most of the time we speak of our differences, and my focus is on what makes us the same, universal, something, these things that transcend culture and otherwise. And I'm pretty happy so far. I don't know if I'm there yet. I loved Juan's analogy about the train. My work is basically process. It's a continuous dialogue with the pieces themselves. And as you might or might not feel, I sometimes identify with the fact that if the artwork was a train, sometimes it drives itself. And I'm not always sure where it's going, but we get small glimpses. This is one of the latest pieces. It's pretty big. It's 4 feet by 8 feet. And this is where I think the train is heading. These are the next stops. Not exactly sure, but I wanted to give you an idea where the pieces you might see came from and where they're going to, or I think where they're going to now. And that's about it for me.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all this journey. Really interesting. Now it's the turn to introduce Guido Garaycochea. Guido also is one of the founder of Expresiones. He has many role as a curator, founder, and also as an artist. Welcome, Guido.
Thank you, Jose, and well, I'm very happy to be here, and also to see all my friends, artist friends, and we have shared here many with each of them. Sometimes many opportunities, and well. Yes, I am the co-founder of Expresiones Cultural Center in New London. I came to New London as an artist in residence to the Griffith Art Center. And at that time, many years ago, it was not so known, the concept of artists in residence in Latin America. I'm talking about 17 years ago, all the time that with Jose, we have been in this country. So we decided together to give the opportunity to Latin American artists, the same opportunity that I was provided with. And in the other hand, we knew that we wanted to build a bridge of understanding between Latin America and the United States. The needs were there, and I think that now are more than ever alive, all this need of understanding between different countries, and that we are still on that journey. But about the exhibition, about my work, I have to say that I came to this country as an abstract artist, and my work was very contemplative and rooted in the pre-Inca culture. I am originally from Peru. However, my education has been between Peru, Chile, and the United States. But everything changed in my practice. I think my practice shift when I went back to school in 2013, and I got a master's degree and a School of Visual Art in New York. Before I had another master in Chile, and everything changed. And same thing as Juan Carlos. My studio, when I moved from here, from Connecticut to New York, my studio was reduced in space, but also I started working at the Queens Museum, where I ran the adult education program. And so I started working on collage, something that was manageable for me, and reduce the space. I started collecting magazines on the street. That was one of my rules, and those magazines were more about fashion, etc. And I was obsessed with changing the narrative of the pictures I was taking advantage of, and creating a new meaning for those pictures altogether in a kind of scenography that I built in my work. So I started also not to be so rigid in the use of techniques, because I used to think that oils are oils, acrylic, watercolors. Now I mix everything. I do also some videos, installations, but the work that I'm presenting, that I'm showing at the La Grua, is mostly a collection of some oil on canvas and oil on wooden panels. I'm gonna, while I'm talking, I am going to share with you some of. Can you see? Yeah, I guess so. Huh? So as I said, my practice shifted once I went back to school and started reading about, Foucault and Paul Preciado and Judith Butler and all this queer theory, and I started to think about my own identity as a gay, as a queer person, and my work started to talk about questioning concepts related to sex, gender representation, nudity, aspect of gender non-conformity, and societal pressures, and imposition of this manhood, this toxic masculinity that we are really built in society. So my work, the one that you can see right now, I have a problem by changing the okay, now okay. So what you see now is a very recent work. These are work on paper, watercolor, with some cutoff of the same magazines. And now I am more open in my own rules. I take everything from everywhere. So some common images and characters of the queer culture, mostly New York queer culture, and making this mix of techniques, paper, some tools, whatever element I have, some as you can see, these 3D elements here. But also, you can also see that in my work, and you probably are going to see in these two watercolors, Connecticut is still present, and I love to hike here. And so all my different, visions of my world is all together. I am more interested now in my collage in re-examining the queer culture and since Wallstone. And so this is an oil on canvas. I have been also obsessed with the idea of the dollhouse, which is related to Foucault and the thought of Foucault about power and how we are manipulated by power and how do we have to perform in a way to please the establishment. So in a way, my work right now is, I can consider, I already have added some dollhouses, are like characters that are playing some kind of roles and talking to the viewer. And I also very, very interested in characters that are transsexual characters, because I think that there is not, for the system, there is not such a more powerful rebellion than rebuilding our own body. And I really admire, that trans community for being able to do that, to be very honest with their own being, to the point of transforming that. I play with humor some of my characters that I always, while in the studio, I think, and I can hear, these little talks that go from one character to the other. And one of my pieces, I will say that takes me about 4 or 5 months to be completed. It's a process of going back, working in 3 or 4 different pieces, and then going back to my studio, talk with the characters, look to them for hours and hours, and see what they are willing to do, and they are willing to tell me about myself. For sure, in 6 months, in 4 months, you change your mind about too many things. The environment change, and that is what I can say about my practice right now. It's very experimental. I don't close the door to anything. I am still taking part of my years, my training as a painter. That's why my collage, in a way, are a combination of cut off images and layers of oil. So you don't really know where the printed paper stops or finishes or ends, and where my brushes and my oil colors or my acrylics start, because I transform some of these elements. I work with the lights, I create these magic spaces that at the end are, just one room of these doll houses. And that is what I can tell you about my practice, and some of the work that I show in this presentation are on view at La Grúa right now.
Thank you, Guido. Thank you. Well, I really want to say thank you to the 4 artists, because knowing a little bit about them, about their inspiration, what is behind of the pieces that we are always in front of, it's helped a lot. Then I really appreciate that everybody was willing to share with us. Okay, now I will pass to Kelly or Lori to see if we have questions.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kelly, the program director at La Grúa Center, and I'm going to take your questions this evening and pose them to our artists. So you can go ahead and type those into the Q&A box that's at the bottom toward the right. if anyone has any questions. While we're waiting for questions to pop in, I have a question for Juan Carlos. I was interested to know how you made the leap from 3D work as a sculptor to, 2D work and doing collage. What was it that initially drew you to collage as a form of art?
Hi. Um, well, it's an interesting question. At first, it was mainly a matter of space and working within the small studio that I had back then. Nevertheless, through the process and going at it and making it, I find that at first, most of the collages when I started doing them had 3D objects, and I started to think of them as reliefs at first, and then the process or the flow of the process or the dialogue came to a point in which the relief would just ask itself to flat itself out in the on the paper. I always make the analogy of of working the collage at first when you start out with the blank sheet of paper, that it's almost like starting with an object and coming and working it and pushing it to its most minimal flattened expression, if you will.
Interesting. That makes sense. Thank you. We have a comment here from Kathy. She said, first and foremost, all the work is exciting, fresh, and very evocative subject matter. Thank you all for sharing. And her question is for Juan B. Do you use photographs or are the images painted?
Okay, interest question too. Well, I start always translating a photograph. I think about painting as a language. And when I think about painting as a language, I think about myself as a translator. Maybe because my mother was a translator, but I think about my paintings as a translation from the language of the photography, with in which is very important the reality. But when I paint, I translate this image to a canvas. I make a semiotic act. I transform the image. Even when I paint, even when I'm trying to paint with the most of the fidelity or with the hyperrealism, it's a painting. It's not a photograph. So the meaning is completely different. I have faith in painting because I think in this translation I changed the meanings of the image. So I don't know if the answer is right. If I answered the question, I don't know.
I think you did. Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
And we have another comment here. Doug says, thank you all. So interesting to see everyone's practices and processes. And for Juan Carlos, have you had any inspiration from the recent images from Mars?
Yes, of course. It's actually funny that somebody would mention that, because at the time of the residency, the 50th anniversary of the moon landing was coming about. And Curiosity at the time was sending its first images. And I was always thinking about that and being aware and trying to get my hands on some of the images without having any copyright infringement. But yes, I'm constantly attuned and follow everything and anything where I could find imagery.
Thank you, Juan Carlos. We have another question here from Jim. Juan B. and Guido, your imagery is so different. Juan, yours is almost conceptual with the references to food and traditional family. Guido, yours is so whimsical and exaggerated imagery that is a non-traditional depiction of a way of life. How do your works relate to each other? How do you view each other's work?
Juan Carlos, you first.
Oh, it was me. I thought it was.
It was Juan. It was Juan. Juan B.
Juan B.
It's about me. Okay, Guido, you start.
Well, I want to understand what the question was.
Well, to start, what do you think of each other's works?
Well, I do admire Juan Balaguer as a human being and as a painter, number one, and I love him. So that, you know, on the top of the answer. I think that Juan Carlos, Juan is a kind of person that studied a human being. He is an observer of human behavior. And in that respect, I do the same. So in a way, I consider myself and I see Juan as a, you know, something that really we have a coincidence in, as persons that we meditate and we observe the human behavior, and then we take notes of that. And the way we take notes, the way I take note of that is through my work, my visual work. So all my intimate reflections and thoughts and questions are there in my work. And if you see my work is very honest and is very open, and is there to be read. There are not secrets there are not second messages. Well, for sure there are, you know, layers of reading in each work, but everything is there. That's what I can say, if that is an answer.
It is. Juan, did you have something to add?
Well, I agree. I completely agree with the view of Guido. I think both of them, every artist has make critical views about the society, and I think the newest work of Guido, the collages, are very strong in the message, in the proposal of in the view about the behavior of the society. And Guido, I love your collages. Your recent work, it's great. So, well, that's all.
I thought it was interesting too to see both of your work and how they relate to each other. So I look forward to other people seeing that as well and making those connections. We had a question from someone who's asking about Michelle showing her work on screen. She's not able to do that at the moment, but we do have the virtual gallery, which is live on our website right now, lagruacenter.org. There's a link there, and I also dropped it into the chat, so you can see her images there as well as in person at the gallery. Let's see here. We have Tracy says, gracias to all of the artists. So interesting, and I look forward to seeing the exhibit at La Grua Center. Her question is, Guido, can you share a little more about your interest in dollhouses and how they provide a dynamic form for your art?
Yeah, I can. What I can say is that I never saw a dollhouse in my own country. I never saw girls playing with dollhouses, because that was probably a luxury that the kids around me didn't have. So the first time that I saw dollhouses was in an art supply store here in AC Moore, that used to be here in London. And my imagination flowed that when I saw that. It exploded my mind about that. But that was it back many years ago. And then by my readings of Foucault, history of sexuality, and reading later Preciado, which is one after the other in between Butler and some others. I could see perfectly us as part of the society, that we were playing our roles, the roles that we were told to play. So we dress in one way, we learn how to express in one way, we learn how to move our body in one way, we learn how to behave in front of a school, for example, in the classroom, I want to say, who is the observer, who is the giver, who is the absorber, and everything is ruled. And so, but I never questioned that as hard and as intense as after I start reading about queer theory and how it can destabilize the status quo. And I can see a relation between that and how we, as a powerful, we can move, these different characters in those rooms in a dollhouse. The same way that we are part of the universe, and we are like a little part of our solar system, but inside us we have many universe of bacteria and etc. And it's just a matter of perspective. So we are pieces. In a way, I consider ourselves just one of those characters inside one of the rooms of the dollhouse that are moved by external powers that we are really willing to accept.
Thank you, Guido. We are just about out of time, so I think Lori's going to pop back on and sign us off.
She is. I am so struck by your generosity, all of you, and especially the generosity of speaking in English. Juan, you did fine. That's so kind of you, and I know that is a challenge. I'm also struck by your willingness to be with us. And even though this pandemic has wreaked such havoc with our lives, at a usual opening, if the 4 artists were here, the din in the room would be loud, we'd all be drinking, and we wouldn't have the opportunity to learn as much from you about your work. So that's the one small good thing about Zoom and this environment. So we thank you so much. We hope that all of you will have a chance to come to visit La Grua Center and perhaps exhibit with us somewhere down the road when we're live and in person. And in the meantime, for those of us in our audience, of course, if you live in our region, the exhibit will be up those dedicated hours, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday afternoons. Other times, call us, we'll work with you. And that goes through the end of April. And our deepest thanks to Jose for bringing this all together and being such a wonderful partner with us to make sure that we could make this exhibit happen. So thank you again to the artist for allowing us to exhibit your work and to chat with us tonight. Thanks in the audience. Please, everyone, stay safe. Good night.
Good night. Thank you.
Good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.